What's up, everybody? It's Mr. Talkbox. Check it out. You need to like and subscribe. Come on. Catch a notified. DOA playlist. Let's keep it funky.
YouTube family and YouTube world, listen, I hope everybody's well and blessed for sure. Listen, today, I can't tell you how special this day is for me. It's an emotional day, and I'm going to try my best to keep it together because I seriously have two great men that's iconic in my life, that's been a part of my life since I was a kid, and I'm so grateful to have them both here together at the same time, which I'm telling you, that's rare. That's rare. So I'm thankful that that they were able to join me on my DOA playlist. These brothers has been a staple in my life, my family's life, and to the world. Please, let's welcome my older brothers. First, the great Dr. Cornel West and his big brother, Clif West. Y'all show them some love. Oh, man, I can't, man, I'm so excited.
Love it.
I can't thank you guys, man, enough. This is crazy. And I don't know why I'm feeling this way, because we literally are from the same hood. We've been knowing each other. We're from the same community, but every time you guys we're together, man, it's something special, and I'm glad you guys are here hanging out with me, man. This interview, we're going to take our time with this one. Usually I keep them about 10, 15, 20 minutes, but man, we just going to let the Holy Spirit move. What's up, fellas? What's up, my brothers?
Oh, brother, what an honor. What an honor, brother.
Great honor, man.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be, it's just we know, and it's hard to pretend that because we've been through so much, we've experienced so much. We lost a dear brother together.
Yes.
We've lost moms, we've lost dads, we've lost families, and and our communion is just so powerful right here from the city of Sacramento to, I'm going to use Dr. West, the chocolate slices of Glen Elder and the Deep Roots chocolate slices of Oak Park, California. And just to have you guys, man, and just both of your schedules are so crazy, man. I am so honored, man. I can't thank you guys enough for taking this time, and we could share some things that this whole world, that, Dr. West, you're one of the most influential. You're the most influential black man in my life. You are one of my idols. I idolize Muhammad Ali, and I idolize you. You are one of my idols, and your face, your figure. You can't go nowhere without being recognized. Everybody knows who and what you are and what you've done, and your fight for justice just all over the world, and what you've done with your life. Dr. West, tell people something about Cornel West that people may not know.
One thing the world needs to know is that Cornel and Clif love Brother D so intensely that it breaks the back of any sentence.
Amen.
It will make any paragraph bleed, because there's a human being there who we embrace at the most profound level. Now, you are also one of the great artistic genius, one of the greatest artistic geniuses come out of Sacramento, but also your generation. You can ask Lionel Richie about that. Ask Kim about that. Ask Tyrese about that. And then at the same time, I put this in my office. I'm right here on 110th Street in Harlem. See, and the world see black men who mean business: Clifton West, Derek DOA Allen, and Mike Daly. And if they miss that one, they can see Street Knowledge, which is the double album. And if they miss that one, They can deal with a little Prince and Talib Kweli and Jill Scott and Andre 3000 and Lenny. It goes on and on and on. And so just the fact that we are able to always see you, embrace you. And as you know, I met you through Clif. And of course, Clif, my older brother. And I'm 1/3 of the human being he is. But I'm going to catch up. In the third life. But most importantly, we come from Irene and Cliff. We come from St. Cheryl. We come from Shiloh Baptist Church. We come from Willie P. Cook. We come from Deacon Hinton. We come from Sarah Ray. We come from Mr. and Mrs. Daniels. That's us. Oak Park, Glen Elder, Lamb Park, Shiloh, Black Panther Party, Martin King, John Coltrane, Curtis Mayfield, Aretha. That's where we come from. You see what I mean? And we ain't got to the dramatics and the Delphonics yet. And Cliff got 200 songs that all of them could have used.
No.
Hey, Cliff.
I tell you what.
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Please, man.
I'm just saying, man, that we are so blessed. I just love the divine design and the way God does things, man. Even when we're sometimes in the valleys, we can't always be in the mountains. We can't always be in the sunshine. If it was like that, we live in a desert. So he knows what we need in order for this short time on earth for us to be in the greatest space of goodness for our own good. And in saying that, D, he brought you into our paths.
Absolutely.
He brought you, because you are significantly younger, brother. I know what you said. I love you for being nice and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, we are from at least a half a generation, maybe a little bit older than you. So it didn't have to happen that way if it was up to us. But when I think about how God brought you into our paths, man, the West Brothers path and the West family's path.
That's true.
And how you have made our lives richer. But even more important than that, you have made the world's life richer. You have made the world richer. And really, it's a good time to bring in Michael Daly, because Michael Daly changed that world through the vision he saw in Cornel, really starting back in 1997. We didn't get together till 2000. But Mike first mentioned it to me in 1997 when he said, there's melody in that brother's voice. There's a melody out here, Cliff. We gotta convince him to put him on wax. And you know how it happened from there. I'll let you chime in on that, D, however you want to bring that in.
Cliff, the thing about it is, so you're talking about this musical project that people don't even really know that Dr. Cornel West is not only a scholar, he's not only a professor, he's not only performed at black colleges all over the world and done so many just great things. And Cliff, you're a professor, you're a scholar, you're a doctor as well. You got great books but you're recording artists. There's 3 albums, but there's 3 bodies of work. And people, I remember when Mike brought me the idea. We're moving a little bit ahead, but when he brought me the idea and told me this vision that he had, I was like, okay, of course, I get it. Then I said, so it's Corn. What are we gonna do? He's gonna be. I know Cliff is gonna be singing, and I know Corn got some vocals. I know he got some vocals.
None of that happened. None of that, thank God.
But I was confused. I was like, so he says no. He says no, D. He says we're gonna take everything that Cornel does in schools, on the streets, in his classes all over the world, and we're gonna put it to musical composition. We just gonna take what he does. I said, so basically him as a scholar and a professor and teaching, and I said, it's kind of like like Gil Scott. He's like, yes and no. Everything we're gonna do is gonna be it's gonna be organic.
Yes,
I said,
yes, yes.
I said, bruh,
good work.
I said, bruh, I'm not sure of your vision, but I'm gonna follow your lead, and let that just let it happen. It was like, it was so crazy to me what his idea was, and I'm so thankful that he chose me. He came to me with it. There's no way I was gonna say no. I was just gonna just ride in the back seat and just be his assistant and give him whatever he needed to try to get this project, to try to help him birth this thing in his mind. And this was a thought when he came to me. Now I know Clif, he approached you about it. And what was your thought process when he approached you about it, Clif?
Well, he really might kind of nagged me for 3 years. And then on my birthday, on my 50th birthday, had a big old party. It's not really a big old party, intimate, but fairly big party. And Cornel was there, of course. And Mike said, Clif, let's bring it on him now. Wasn't nobody in the room. Me, Mike, Corn, Cheryl. Spring it on him now. So I did. Corn said, well, what is it that we be doing? And then Mike took over. And Mike just shared his vision with Cornel. Because no one could share it like Mike could. Nobody could put it into words. Nobody had it in their heart. Had that fire in their heart like Mike did. So when I just set it up, basically set the space up for them to be there at the same time and let Corn know that I was down for it too, because I did understand it enough to know. And then Corn said, well, who we gonna get to produce this thing? And we called you, D, that night. And you said, well, I'll hear more about it, but I'm down. But D, I remember the first time in the studio when we got in there and we're getting everything together. And when it came to your recognition that Cornel don't need any notes, that everything he's going to do was going to be extemporaneous. It's going to be right off the top of his head. And he's going to be able to do it over and over and over again. And the look on your face was like, what kind of brother? What is going on? You say, what? Oh, man. And see, that's kind of like when church started, because people started rolling in. And sometimes in the studio, we didn't have enough room for people to get in the studio. And it was like just a spiritual experience up in there, just night after night after night after night. And people just want to get in just to be a part of it, to sit there and listen to it, because everybody knew it was something special. We didn't know how special at the time, but we knew it was something very different and very special. And now, like you said, D, it'll be around 1,000 years, man. It's an evergreen. It's like the day coming up in the morning. It's like the way God makes it familiar, new and fresh every day. It's never going to get old because it is the unvarnished truth.
You know what, Clif? I remember those moments, man. We were just having, the doors of the church was open to the studio, and we just had our friends, our family, and loved ones was coming in and just listening to what was going on. We were doing music compositions, and Dr. Cornel West would come in. We would come up with the subject matter, whether it was a song, a hook that Clif wrote, or a concept that Mike Daly had. And we're gonna get into really explain who Mike Daly was. He's no longer here, but we're gonna talk about him. Or we'll take a subject matter, and the subject matter could be something like 9/11. Just what happened on 9/11.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, Clif, by going back what you said, that watching Corn, I'm thankful because I can call him Corn.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Watching Corn go into the booth, man, never ever having a pencil or a pen or anything, going from the top down and just speaking the knowledge, the wisdom, separating the verses from choruses to the bridge. If it was a bridge, just he knew how to make these songs flow like real flow. Now, It's not spoken word. So it's even like right now, guys, I can't, it's a project that you got to hear it to really go understand it. Because I still, it's like his book writing on records, I guess. I don't really know. But with book writing, that's even different because that's edited. This is polished. This in the studio, it was none of that. Dr. West, when we recorded the Green album, now help me. I think it was the first project, the Green label. Is that the time, Corn? Is that the time when you got some slack from? Was it from Harvard when they kind of came down?
Yeah.
Was that the time they nailed us to the cross for doing a rap hip hop album and all kinds of things? Cornel, can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, and what was Brother Danny's last name, Cliff? Was it Danny?
Goldberg.
Brother Danny Goldberg came through strong for us.
Yes.
Because he picked up on our first album.
Yes.
He picked on the first album. We then had an event at Harvard, overflow crowd. Clif came and threw down, and Harvard just couldn't take it. The Harvard president at that time was Larry Summers.
Larry Summers.
He brings me in his office. He's saying, hip hop's all about this dirty so and so, and the Harvard professor has no reason of being part of that. I looked at brother in the eyes and said, I am the man you think you are. I said, I'm as much Harvard or more than you. I arrived here as a freshman in 1970, and that was 2001. And I said, I'm a free black man, and I do what I want, I say what I want, and I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. Out of love. And that brother turned red as a beet. And when I looked in his eyes, I thought of my father who worked at McClellan for so many years, who trained so many young white brothers, who later on became his boss because of racist legacies. And yet he preserved his dignity, his style, his smile, his love for Cynthia and Cheryl and Clifton and Irene, let alone his father, Reverend C.L. West. I said, do you know my people? Do you know where I come from? And then he thought I wanted to kick his behind. I said, well, no, the Holy Ghost is holding me back.
Don't worry about that.
No. I'm still a West. I'm still a Shiloh Baptist church product. I got Jesus' love in me. But the righteous indignation is always going to be there.
You know what's crazy? Here's what's funny, and I'll never forget, and I think I still have this. I have an ad somewhere. I got to dig it up. And Clif, I think I shared this story with you. I know I shared it with Mike. I was in London with Lionel at the time when the whole story broke. I went downstairs, and I think I got a USA Today or something. I got a paper. This story was in USA Today about this story about our project and with Corn, what you were going through with Larry Summers. I could not believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, you did share that with me. Absolutely.
I couldn't.
You know what was interesting? What really got him upset was that all of a sudden, you see my mother's picture right here, just like Clif got mom's picture. Y'all remember that?
Artist of the Week.
The Artist of the Week for MTV based on our project.
Oh, MTV, yeah. Yeah.
I remember. Now listen. Now Dr. West and Cornel West. Clif West. Let's let the cat out the bag. Let's talk about the project. Okay. Let's go through this body of work and let's talk about the depth, because people, if you guys aren't familiar, we're gonna really give you the projects. And Dr. West, I'm so glad you got all 3 CDs right there, all 4 of them, however many you got. Yeah. I'm so glad we gonna definitely talk about how you get them. But yeah, that was sketches. That was sketches. That was sketches. Yes, that brother. That's the album, y'all. This is a music composition that Dr. Cornel West. We had, in fact, he was a signed recording artist to Hidden Beach.
That's right.
Signed recording artist to Hidden Beach. People just probably don't know that. They don't have a clue how massive.
That's Buzz Steve. That's Buzz Steve McKeever.
Steve McKeever, that one right there. And
Prince on it. Prince himself.
we gonna go there. We are going to go there.
Yeah.
Now let's talk, Clif. Let's talk about how we came up with some of the concepts. Like go into some deep depth about the project and who was involved in the project and how this kind of thing came together.
Yeah, Clif.
You know, D. This thing really was organized more than we knew we were organized. We were actually more organized because everybody had a role. You were the producer, and really the sergeant. Okay, and when it came to your space, you let everybody know who was in charge, and that's good because it wouldn't work otherwise.
We followed his instructions.
We followed your instructions.
Ended up producing the high quality.
But we had to bring you something. Of course, you had some things that you already had too, because to elevate your view, you already had that track. But you needed a hook, and I put a hook on it, and then we all wrote the verses. And then Corn would do his thing. You know, Corn basically did his own thing. But the thing that, to answer your question, it was so magical that I remember the first 3 songs that we cut, and they were mixed down enough to be able to, to put on mixed and mastered. There's only three cut, 3 M's. I wanted to say the wrong ones, but anyway, it was 3 of them. And Corn was so excited. We all were so excited that Corn took a red eye from Sacramento to New York from the studio and camped, posted up in the hotel that Quincy Jones was at. Had the man call upstairs and say, "Tell him Dr. West is here waiting on him. When he come down, I got something for him."
That's true.
And I should let you tell that story. But I remember you calling me from the lobby talking about, "I'm waiting, Clif. I ain't going nowhere till he come down. He know I'm down here." And so
he got to eat breakfast.
And Quincy loved it, man. Quincy heard those 3 tunes, and he loved it. And he knew he knew we was on to something.
He loved it.
He loved the production. He loved the production. He loved what we were doing. And this, like you say, D, this was new. Danny Goldberg actually went to high school with Gil Scott-Heron. So Danny Goldberg had an affinity, and he loved Corn. He knew Corn also. But he had an affinity, but he also saw you had to be a visionary in a lot of ways. Because remember, this is 2001, man. You had to be a visionary. And so he saw the potential, not just so much in record sales, but he saw the potential in doing good for the world and just doing good for goodness sake.
Yes.
And that's really what this project was really about, man. Just doing good for goodness sake, man.
That's true. That's true. No, Brother Danny was extraordinary. Remember, it was Artemis.
Artemis. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Artemis Records. And had talked with him and met his wonderful family and the father and everybody. And he opened that possibility because it was so many folk who were afraid of what we were doing.
Yeah.
Remember when we went all over New York, man, all the different stuff.
Yeah.
People looking for G-string music. They were looking for the flattened down, dumbed down kind of music. And the creativity can still be in the music, but if the language itself doesn't branch out just beyond bodily titillation, we ain't Puritans. We ain't against bodily titillation. But the thing is, life is more than that. It's about joy. It's about family. It's about legacies of Martin King and Malcolm X. It's about from the Muhammad Ali's to the Althea Gibson. We are people who have all of the dimensions of the human that's in our music. And we wanted to reflect that, and we were uncompromising about it. That was what's so beautiful about it. See, we wasn't kowtowing to nobody at all.
And see, the beauty...
dancing for nobody. We're going to stand with dignity and make our music the way Donny Hathaway and Curtis Mayfield and Aretha and the others did in their own unbelievable ways,
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about it is that the beauty of the music comes from the same thing that causes beauty, the only way beauty can happen, and that's through suffering. See, that there's no beauty without something and somebody suffering.
Ooh, ain't that the truth?
So you can hear the story like in The Journey. The journey that was on Sketches and on Street Knowledge. That really encapsulates that one tune right there. It, in so many ways, it encapsulates the whole project. And I'm when I say the whole project, I'm talking about all three, really 4 albums, because like you said, the Green Album, I'd forgotten about that, but the Green Album was really the first. So that encapsulates that, and it talks about, for us as a people, our specific journey.
Yes.
Coming up from the shores from the Middle Passage. And it tells it from a musical standpoint, too, and how the experience connected to the music.
Yes.
And it still does. And then how the music gave back to the experience in a way that sustained the people in going through this thing that was suffering, no other word for it, intense suffering, but a beauty was created out of that. And it's a beauty that came out of nobody else but us. We're the only one that could have done that. Only one.
Well, and we were uncompromising in the undeniable truth that in the 20th century, which is the most barbaric century of recorded time, over 150 million people have been killed. In the 20th century, the greatest artistic creativity, spiritual fortitude, and moral courage is in the Black musical tradition. And everybody in every corner of the globe understands that. When it comes to sonic expression, when it comes to musical articulation, there's nothing like the blues, nothing like jazz, nothing like rhythm and blues, nothing like hip-hop. It is the greatest artistic breakthrough in the 20th century. And we were simply saying, we want to bear witness to that. We want to channel that spirit in such a way that it accents the least of these, so that the deep love that we've been able to preserve and enact can touch souls all around the world, but beginning with Black folk. Love yourself, believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, elevate yourself, put yourself on a way and a mission so you can be a force for good before the worms get your body and before the Lord embraces you. So that's what we were doing. And folk were very afraid of that. Even though we went 30, we 38 on the Billboard, so it's not like we just completely forgot in that sense. Yeah, 38 on the Billboard. But Chaka Khan was great, in so many ways. She was 39 that week.
That's true. Yeah.
I look at Black men who mean business, 38, Chaka Khan, 39. I said, oh, Lord, the Lord is using some
That's right. That's right. That's right.
In a mighty way. But you already had number one, Tyrese, before we even got into it, brother, right?
Yeah, lately. Yeah, lately already. That's
lately was already there. But you know what, guys? So it's crazy because this body of work, and we still haven't even gotten into it. So what happened was, what we did, we took what Cornel West does as a scholar, as a teacher, and we put it to music composition. In doing that, Mike Daly had this vision. He had this wish list of plethora of artists that he just had in his mind that he wanted to invite on this project. And that was nothing but God who pulled that together. I can't even tell you. I don't remember how it happened, but it just came together in his mind the way it did. Because for the artists that we had on this record, it sure didn't match the budget that we had to do this project with. We had the artists we had. When I tell y'all, it was well over $100 million worth of artists on this record and more, and then some. It was just,
That's so true. Gerald Levert's last record.
Gerald Levert's last record. So we did a record called The Man.
Was the first brother to show up.
Yeah, we did a record on. There's a song on the record called "The Man Is Gonna Get You."
Yeah.
Dr. West, talk about that song.
Well, shoot, "The Man Is Gonna Get You" was a prefiguration of the Black Lives Matter movement because it accented police brutality, police murder, and Black dignity in response to it. See, we ain't never talking about oppression without talking about resistance. We ain't never talking about hate coming out Black people without Black people responding with a love that begins with empowering ourselves and spills over. And so I think Gerald Levert is the greatest soul singer of his generation, but that's a whole nother thing. And we can get into Glenn Jones, because Glenn Jones is one of the coldest and the deepest too. And if the white mainstream don't acknowledge it, that's all right, because Curtis Mayfield and Sly Stone and Sam Cooke never won a Grammy, but Milli Vanilli won 2. So a Grammy can be a nice thing, but that ain't what it's about. That ain't what Black Men Who Mean Business is all about. We try to empower folk. And that's precisely what we were able to do, owing to Mike, owing to Brother DA, and then, of course, Clif was always a visionary leader, keeping all of us in place. And I'm just on the caboose. Y'all put me on the love train, and I was in the caboose, and I love being in the caboose because I was moving with the train.
No, but it was something to see the people that did get it, because the musicians, he talks about the freedom of the musicians, the spiritual freedom of Black musicians, and really all musicians, but definitely when we're talking right now, embracing the Black musicians, man, and the freedom. Prince never let anyone have any of his songs. Don't even ask him. And Mike called Prince to do something, and Prince said, look, you can have this cut, musicology, do anything you want to do to it. I said, Mike, I know that. I know he didn't say that. I had to call to find out for myself. And I didn't, at that point, I didn't talk to Prince until later on,
we went up there later.
When
y'all flew down there and had a meeting with. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's dig into that there. Listen, I hate what's going on with Prince's music now. It hurts me. Because I hate what's going on with the museum. It hurts me. I'm saying this is me. People may get mad at me, but I will never step foot at Paisley Park ever as a museum. I would never do it. I'm thankful that I had a chance to spend time there when I was invited there. Prince was a private man. He was one of my favorite artists. I hate that everybody and anybody now has access to his music. I hate that his music is being exposed all over the place. That just bothers me. I hate that I'm hearing some of these B-side records that they claiming to vault this, to vault that. To me, I don't know if he ever would have wanted that. I know when he was living, that would have never happened. Never happened.
Right.
When he was approached by us and you brothers flew down there and had a one-on-one with him. Yeah. We wanted to use a track from the musicology, Mr. Man, right?
Mr. Man, yeah.
But it was because he loved Cornel West so much.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
He didn't just say, he let us use the master. That has never happened. He gave us permission to use the master. I've heard stories about people, right, when Prince was living. And I'm not going to mention no names, but the stories are out there where a couple of artists actually recorded some songs, got inspiration from Prince, sit down with Prince to get the okay to release the records, and he told them no. He told them no. I'm talking about major artists would say, I gotta talk to this man and make sure he's gonna give me his blessings because I was totally inspired to write this record from one of Prince's records, and I appreciate that of the artists. And he told them no. Be creative, do it your own way. I'm not gonna help put nobody's kids through college off my music. He let us, never happen, use a master and manipulate it. Gave us the rights. Gave me the right to manipulate it any way we wanted to, but we didn't do that. I didn't add a cowbell on the record. We did not. We treated that record as he gave it to us to use. We didn't change nothing. Only thing we did was Clif, Brother Mike, Corn came up with a concept, put the vocal on it, and he approved it. He loved it. He endorsed it.
He loved it. Yeah.
We used a complete master, y'all, from Prince. That's never happened. Never.
That's so true.
Yeah.
No, he blessed us, man. He blessed us with his genius, his witness. He really.
But there was, Cornel, there was something about you that Prince, man, really had a deep affection for. We three brothers here that have a deep affection, genuinely an authentic deep affection for one another. Well, Prince had an authentic deep affection for you, Corn. You were, just like Dee was talking about Muhammad Ali, you were his Muhammad Ali in that way. You truly were. I mean, when I see you guys together, and, of course, I don't know Prince like I know DOA, but you could see in a person and a human being when they have a deep affection, when they just feel like they're blessed beyond blessativity to be in the presence and to know someone. And that's the way Prince really felt about you. And in that kind of love, there's this component called trust. So there was a trust, there was a faith, and there was an affection and a love that he had for you. And just like Dee said, the Holy Spirit made sure that we handled it in a way that was pleasing to the situation and to Prince.
You know what I was concerned about? We did the song called Mr. Man.
Mm-hmm.
We stepped in it with that record.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, Corn.
No, you're absolutely right, though, man. You're absolutely right. And you think of the towering figures, Dead Prayers and all the others who are also kind enough. Andre 3000 did the same thing. He sent us the piece right out. He trusted us. He had a deep love of us. And we were able to come through. We sent it back to them, and they say, green light ahead. Prince, yeah. Andre 3000, yes. Talib Kweli, we can go right across. Jill Scott, right across the board, yes. Brother Lenny was sounding so good from Tower of Power.
Lenny Williams.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
And there's so many other names. I mean, you hate to start mentioning names.
Yeah.
So we come up with a record. So everybody know we come up with a record. Say, let's talk about everything is gonna be all right, brother Clif. You brought that record to the table.
That's right.
We come up with everything's gonna be all right. So what we would do, we would come up with the track. We let the track speak. We write the hook, the melody.
Mm-hmm.
We had on that one record. We had Dave Hollister, Chucky Booker. We had Stokely playing drums.
Live drums.
Playing his live drum in the studio. Out of Minneapolis.
Flew right in. Eric Pick-Funk Smith on bass. Eric Pick-Funk Smith. And so then we come up with this beautiful concept. And Corn would talk freely and educate through these y'all gotta go hear this project so you can really understand what it's all about. And the project was before its time. It was time. The man is going to get you. Black Lives Matter was nowhere around. It was nowhere around. Sure, it's been happening for hundreds of years, but we stepped in. The man's going to get Mr. Man. We was talking about the president.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the one we did with KRS-One and the president. Who was on that with KRS-One? Y'all right? Let me see. It was no, that was M1. That was M1 and Dead Press.
M1 Dead Press, yeah.
M1.
Yeah.
Mike and Lucky and Do It did Keeping It P.I.
Keeping It P.I.
P.I.
We call it We got a record called Keeping It P.I.
That was cold.
That's really, really cold. But now let's talk about this one.
Black Thought and Raw Digger.
Come on. Hey, I'm going to tell y'all something. This one project, I could have just retired and said, thank you, God. I don't have to. I could have retired, man. So we did a record called The N-Word.
N-Word, that's right. Part 1 and Part 2.
Part 1 and Part 2. And
Brother Tavis.
We had Brother Tavis was the host, and then we had Dr. Cornel West and Brother Dyson. Eric Michael Dyson.
Cornel took one stance, and Dyson took
another stance on the N-word. Corn, explain the N-word.
Yeah, that was very rich. Yeah, Brother Dyson argued we ought to keep using the word, and I was arguing that, black folks so creative linguistically and otherwise, that is true. We could take the word and transform it, but the impact of the word is still so ugly and so vicious that a lot of folk who are using the word and don't realize where it really comes from could reinforce the words, the self-violation, the self-flagellation, the self-destruction that goes too often the white supremacist bombardment against us. You see. So we said, look, as a community, our anthem is Lift Every Voice. Let's have the voices lifted in conversation, in dialogue. We ended up respecting each other, but we disagreed. Well, see, that's very important for people to see. Very important for people. And then we had the funk. What was our brother's name, the Italian brother playing that funk?
Brother Dino. Dino Soda.
Dino, yeah.
Dino Soda.
This is very important for the audience, because you hear a lot of talk these days about, I'd like to have a white ally, or my white brother is my ally. No, Dino wasn't an ally. He was in the mother-hucking band.
He's a brother. Exactly.
The voice, a crucial voice in the band, like Bill Evans with Miles. He ain't no ally. Or Brandon Jerry in Sly and the Family Stone on the drum playing the saxophone. Those are white brothers. They're not allies of Sly and Larry Graham. They in the mother-hucking band. And when you in the band, you got solidarity.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah. You ask Brother Dino, he never felt he was an ally in the studio, did he?
Never.
He was in our band. He was in the group. He sounded good. His contribution is like all of our contributions together.
Absolutely. And then we did the B word.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Well, I forgot.
That's right.
We talked about the B word.
But everybody agreed on that, though.
We had consensus on that.
Yeah. And we brought in Brother Dyson's wife on that record as well. She was a part of the panel. Tavis was the host, right? He hosted it. And everybody was on agreement about the B word.
That's true. And we had the sister from UC Berkeley and Sacramento B on the N word. What was her name, Clif?
We had Faiza Alim.
That's right.
That's who it is.
That's who it was.
Faiza Alim. Yeah.
Exactly. Man, the body of work, the project, and then I think one of my favorites still to this day was 9/11, because it was intimate. It's guitar and corn. We would perform that song in different places. We would go and actually sit down and perform that one. And it was an intimate thing, Corn, and
that's true, though,
we did, Corn, you stepped in it. You talked about how America, how it felt for the whole America to be, your word was niggerized.
Niggerized, unsafe, unprotected, and subject to random violence. We've been dealing with that for 400 years, and some white brothers and sisters finally felt that way in 9/11. We say, welcome to the club. Now let's see how strong your commitment to truth and justice is. Are you going to respond like a gangster? We decided not to form a black version of the Ku Klux Klan and be terrorists when we were terrorized. Now let's see what y'all going to do. And you see the difference. We produced Martin Luther King Jr. They produced the war in Afghanistan. Qualitatively different response to when you terrorize. That's what we were already hitting 2001, 2000. And we cutting against the grain because the whole country's waving the flag. We trying to brave the cross.
Yeah.
We trying to put truth and love up there, and they putting hate, revenge, and crushing and demonizing other people. No, that's not the best of black people. No, not at all. Ours is a love supreme. Ours is a love in need of love.
Clif.
Any one of those three albums, actually all three, should really be re-released today because they are as relevant today, if not more so, than they were 22 years ago.
That is true, though, Clif.
It could be released just as they are. We don't need to get back in the studio and bring up new sounds or anything. I mean, this is just me talking because I'm just thinking off the top of my head. You can release that, yes, and D is really the last word on that. Well, I think we can release that just as it is today. And it would bring people, not only would it bring them to a place where it explains some things that's happening today that were never taken care of, never addressed, never had the courage to deal with, not only in the last 23 years, but in the last 123 years. But it also would be a source of solace and of peace and of empowerment to people so much more needed today, even more than 23 years. That's how it's evergreen. That's what I'm talking about when I say evergreen. It's the truth, and the truth never gets old, and it always cuts against the grain of injustice.
Clif.
Exactly right though, brother.
A matter of a man. Please, that's that. Tell us about that song.
You know, brother, when I was doing that, I was actually thinking about my dad.
Absolutely.
That was a song I wrote as a tribute to my dad. And at one point in the hook, I put a matter of one man too, because my dad had passed by then, but my mom was still alive. But as a tribute to both of them, because they really would spiritually hook to one another. You couldn't really talk about one too much without talking about the other.
That's right.
But it was really a tribute to my dad as to who he was. And you know, D, we came up kind of like in the same household, man. Your household and our household. It was really the same household. We had the same values. It was at the same time, time and space and time. And so forth. We both come out of the church. So we had a lot in common, which is why when you think about us four, we were able to connect in such a spiritual way, just so perfectly. It's because we really grew up in similar households, if not the same. Not that there weren't issues in all households like there are in all households, but we understood each other because we were looking at each other when we were looking at ourselves when we were looking at each other. So that was a matter of man. And Lenny came and did a great job on that too.
Yes, he did.
On one of the albums we had him do it. But D, you did a lot of singing on this. Before we got all these artists on that third album, brother, you carried us on the vocals, and I just want to thank you for that.
D sounding good.
He was sounding. I didn't know he had a falsetto like that, man. Kind of scared me. Yeah, like David Ruffin.
He going to his confunction voice and start doing.
Yes, he had some honey on that falsetto.
Oh no, it didn't left for years ago. It's gone now. One more. Hey, Dr. West.
20 years ago. Yeah.
Dr. West, Soul Sister.
Oh Lord, yes.
With our boy Daryl Moore, aka Demo, we did a record called Soul Sister.
Did that brother have a tribute not just to the beauty and the humanity and the creativity and the courage of black women, but the particular black women in our own lives, from mamas to sisters to wives to cousins, who have made fundamental contributions and been monumental forces in our lives. Because what the album was really about was, how do we pass on to the next generation the spiritual greatness, the artistic greatness, and the moral courage of a great people, of a black people who, in the face of 400 years of hatred and terror and trauma, produced the best levels of love, the best levels of freedom, and the best levels of wounded healers rather than wounded herders. And once you lose that tradition for black folk, it's over for us. America loses that tradition, as we see right now, it's over for America. But not only that, with the ecological crisis, once the species loses a tradition, the planet undergoes destruction. So we were talking about, hey, we are blues people. And if you don't learn something from a blues people, you're going to lose all that you have now that the planet, the nation, and black people ourselves have the blues. And so we had to speak to each other. See, we wasn't speaking to white folk for the most part. We were speaking to each other. And then white folk can eavesdrop and listen in and say, oh, Lord, they got something deep going on. That's exactly right. You want to buy the record? You can buy it. We ain't got nothing against it. But we coming out of our own freedom, our own tradition, our own points of reference, our own black love, black joy, and black freedom, and black agony and anguish. And so in that sense, what you say, Clif, I hadn't even thought about that in terms of what it means for folk to be in contact, not just with our record. There's other great artists out there who are doing wonderful things too. But what we did in these 3 albums, oh, Lord, have mercy.
We had Sister
There's
Jill.
really no
Sister,
categories. No
it really is.
Categorize it.
We had Sister
There's no
Jill,
categories.
just Sister Jill Scott. Sister Jill Scott's on the record.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I mean,
we can go on and on.
I mean,
yeah.
the front line was so powerful.
I love it. I love the front line.
Front line was powerful. One of the first records we recorded. Hey, Clif, let's talk about Mike Daly real quick, man. Let's share the story about our brother Mike Daly.
Mike was a visionary, and really, when I look at Mike's life, one of the main things that the Lord put Mike on this earth to do, of course, to be a wonderful father and a wonderful son and a wonderful brother, of course, but outside his own immediate family, as his calling in life, was to be the founder of this grand movement, this grand project. This actually awoke the world up to the voice that Mike heard in Cornel, this melodic voice that Mike heard when he heard Cornel speak in 1997. So Mike started this thing, and it changed Mike's life. It was his life's calling. He was a 4BMW MB until he went home. He worked on it every day, even when the group was over. So, when I look at people like yourself, D, and like Robert Brookins and Mike and Jay King and so forth, I look at Robert Brookins as really the godfather of black music in Sacramento, definitely, because everything within that time frame had to go through Robert. Absolutely. Somehow he touched it. We all are disciples of Robert Brookins. Michael was one himself.
Absolutely.
But Michael, was a little older, and he was also an encourager for Robert, early on and so forth. And so in a certain way, Michael was a branch that went over to this part of the space in life and said, I want music to convey something that's important to me. I want to do it in the Curtis Mayfield way. Yeah. I want to be and I want to do it in a way that's a whole new category that can't be named. You can call it education or edutainment. Yeah, you can call it education and entertainment, a hybrid edutainment. You can call it that or whatever. But it's like you say, just go on and listen to it, get a little bit of it on you, and see what it make you do. See how it changes you. See how it grows you. See how it see what it happens. See what happens to you. How you become a better person. How you become a more giving person. And so he dedicated his life once he got into this thing. This is what he was growing in to do musically from the time that I met Michael at 14 years old. I met him at 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because probably the greatest cultural and musical critic of his generation was a brother named Greg Tate. Dayton, Ohio, went to Howard University, wrote for Village Voice for 20 years, and he's acknowledged to be the grand authority on black popular music. When he died, I can look out and see the Apollo. They had his name right on the Apollo front, you see. And he wrote a review of Never Forget, our third album, in the source, and said for him, it preserved the best of what shaped him. Now you see, when you get something like that, all the other critics and all the other folk who say what they want about the album is, y'all say say what you want to. If I'm an actor and Marlon Brando say I'm good, that's good enough for me. If I'm a singer and Aretha thinking I'm somebody, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
If I'm playing my guitar, at Curtin Bayfield.
Yeah.
And others said, that's good enough for me. James Cleveland, what do you think about me and gospel? I think you got a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than that. And the great Greg Tate, we should never forget him because he, as a critic, is part of the same tradition that we talking about. The same tradition in so many different ways. And this is true for Bell Hooks, so we can go on and on with other voices. But I just mentioned that because you all may have forgot Greg Tate wrote that at the very end. Because that was then, 2007, 2008, that was our last.
Yeah, that was our last one.
And he just passed just last year.
Wow.
When I ran into him in Harvard, he said, y'all got something new coming out?
Wow.
But, we went back into the studio and did a tribute to Mike Daly, remember?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah, a few years ago.
We
were going to survival and like that. We just didn't finish it up.
Yeah, we didn't finish it up. And
right.
let me say this. Mike Daly was tragically taken away from us. He was brutally murdered. He was shot point blank. I think it was over 9 times, Clif, am I right? Just
more than that, yeah.
Just point blank in the middle of broad daylight on one of the busiest streets in Sacramento, California. And it still has a big effect on the city. Mike Daly, if it wasn't for Mike Daly, I would have never been in the music business. Mike Daly gave me and my brother Flip Kirby our first opportunity. It starts somewhere.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It starts somewhere. That's where it started. Mike believed in me as a kid watching me play in quartet groups. And he just basically, took me under his wing. And he gave me an opportunity when we got older, me and Flip. He hooked us up with our other brother, Mr. Doug Lovelace, to go to LA and do a show. We did one show with Doug Lovelace that turned into maybe 4 or 5 contacts in LA. Those 4 or 5 contacts is how my career got started. And, you're right, Clif. This project, this body of work was everything to him. And it's a great body of work. Cornel, can you hold the album up, the Never Forget the Journey?
Oh Lord, even the picture itself, with all the folk on the slave ship.
That record,
children on the slave ship.
Yeah, that's on the slave ship. Bring it down just a little bit, right there. Okay, now this thing was the BMWMB is Black Men Who Mean Business. Cornel West and BMWMB, Black Men Who Mean Business. Y'all, please, this interview is probably the longest interview I'll do because it's worth it. It's the longest interview that I'll probably ever want to do. That body of work right there is so powerful. And I remember, telling Mike and Clif, and I don't know if I've ever expressed this to you, Dr. West, but I told everybody that this record is going to be bigger when we're all gone. When we're all gone than it is now. This body of work is incredible. And Dr. West, because you are who you are, when God calls you home, everybody in the world is going to be looking for everything Dr. Cornel West. That's when this album is going to be discovered. Clif, everything you are, my brother, which is one of the greatest brothers I know. When God calls you home, everybody's going to be looking for your books, your writings, everything that Clif West has ever done. And they're going to find that for BMWMB project, for Black Men Who Mean Business. When God calls me home, this project is going to come up in my resume, my discography, my world, everything. And it's a special, special project that the project is such a great body of work. And all this project was for a reason, y'all. And we still don't know what the reason is.
That's right.
Well, let me say this.
The Lord was using us. The Lord, I'm just going to show folk here. Continuous with the project. But the same is true with your music, D. I mean,
yeah, D.
And so many others, man. There's so many different voices that have been deeply shaped by your genius, man. By your spiritual giant forces that goes through their souls and gets them to do things. I remember when you had Stokely singing in the studio and you had different versions. By the time he got to that third version, man, Stokely was just in a whole different zone. He was sounding so magnificent.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of impact D has on folks. That's
Well, let me say,
that's who he is. It's like, good God, where did he come from?
I'm gonna say this for my phone cut out. I'm gonna say this for my phone cut out. I'm gonna say this to D. I'm gonna say this to Corn, and I'm gonna say it to my brother Mike, who I know is listening from above. And that is, I go to airports and so forth. And when I used to go to the airport and people would recognize and we would talk about the album, every once in a while somebody would come up and say something about it. But I remember this one guy come up and says, "You know what? This album saved my life." So when it comes down to that level, you really can't even use appreciation. That depth of, you can call it appreciation, but that depth of salvation, that's even more of a kudo than an Emmy, or if any other artist likes it or anything like that. When someone come up to you and say, your music, D,
ooh, Lord,
your message, Corn, your vision, Mike, your vision, Clif, saved my life. That's it. That's it. You can go on to glory after that.
That's bottom line right there.
That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line, and that's a button right there. That's the button. You can zip that bad boy up. That's a button. Clif, tell everybody how they can go find your book, your latest book.
I believe it's still on Amazon. So just go on and get it on Amazon. It's not in any stores right now, but on Amazon.com, you can go on and get it.
Dr. West, what's your latest book, Dr. West?
Brother, I'm trying to bring back Marvin Gaye from the shower into the street by means of witness. I'm much more concerned now about action than I've ever been about words. And so I've got some text coming, but they're always secondary because the love is like a raid on the ineffable. The love is so strong, it's a force that shatters even the linguistic expression. So I would not even leave folks with the books. The Black Prophetic Fire is a nice text I did on Martin, Malcolm, Ella Baker, Du Bois, Frederick Douglass. But most importantly now, very much like any talk about faith, hope, and love, we got to do it. We got to do it. We got to be a hope. We got to be a love. We got to be the faith. We got to be the things that we're writing about in the text. And that for me is the most important thing before the Lord takes me on in. Because I've got a level of gratitude and thankfulness working with Brother Dean, Brother Mike, and Big Clif that I don't have a language for. And that's why we thank you, brother. That's why we thank you. We love you, man.
Man, I love you too. We lost Brother Clif, but I know we love him. Dr. West, man, I love you so much, man. I really love you so much, man. You've been, both of y'all brothers, man, has just been an anchor of my life, man. Thank you so much. This is very special to me, man.
Thank you for this show. And I'm going to put this on my Twitter and Facebook immediately as soon as you let me know.
I will, Dr. West. Love you, man. Love you, man. All right, cool.
And love your family, too.
All right.
Too,
same, doctor. Same.
Yeah,
we out of here. Love you.
Yeah. Love you.
All right, man.
DOA playlist. Let's get the